Hello friends and welcome to the Southern Mountain Kitchen. Today we're going to make French onion ground beef peppers and rice one skillet meal. So what you see on my counter is what we're going to use to make this, and like I said, everything is going in one skillet, and there's really not a lot of ingredients here. There's quite a few spices, but at the end of the day, this is such an amazing tasting thing to make because everything works together, from the onion soup to the seasoning to the ground beef and rice, and you get to add cheese to this, and we have onions and green peppers in here with some beef broth and everything just works together to have such a great flavor. And I was shocked the first time I made this at how good it was, just to combine the things together that I really liked and make something that in one skillet you have this wonderful meal that everybody would want to eat. It has such flavor, and you don't really have to add a lot to this. You could add some bread or whatever to it, but it has such a wonderful amount of things going on in it. It's just great to eat. So we're going to start off by taking an envelope of onion soup mix, and we're going to add this to 1 cup of water because we want to hydrate it, because this is like a dried soup mix. And once you get it poured into your 1 cup of water, we're going to mix it up and then set it to the side to let it do its thing, because these are dried out. And then once it's all mixed up, it's ready to roll. It's there for when you need it coming up in the recipe. So go ahead and move that to the side, and we're going to move on to a little bit of prep because we're going to need some onions for this. So we're going to take 1 medium-sized onion, cut it through the center, and then slice it long ways across this. And what we're going to do is, once this is sliced and you have these rings, we're going to break them up, because you don't want to throw them all in just the way they are. So we want to get this completely sliced up ahead of time, because we want the rings in the food that they're going to be like longer pieces of onion that we can use. So go ahead and break them up by hand before you even get ready to go to a skillet, and that way you don't have to worry about breaking them up as much in the pan as it's cooking. So as you can see here, this makes quite a bit of onion when you do this way, to break it up into bits and pieces, but it works for the recipe. And then in a large skillet, we're going to add anywhere about like maybe 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You could add a little more if you want to, and then we're going to add our onions into this, and we're going to start cooking these for at least a minute before we add anything else to this. The whole cook time though for the onions and the other things that are going in here, like we're going to add peppers and stuff, is going to be about like 5 to 6 minutes, because we want to actually get these onions cooked to a point to where they're starting to get translucent before we do anything else with other ingredients. So we're going to go ahead and move these around the pan. You're going to be on medium-high heat to do this, so make sure that you're moving around, getting that oil all through them, so that way they can start to cook. So as they're sitting in there, you're going to notice that, the longer you cook these, the more translucent they're going to get. That's good. But we're going to add some more things to this. So we're going to bring in green and red pepper. So for the green and red pepper, you really don't need a lot, maybe like 3/4 of a cup, because it's going to give a kicking flavor to it when you add this in. But we're going to cook this at the same time as the onions, because my green and red pepper were in a frozen pack. So I want to get them thawed out and get them cooking along with. And as you can see, I've been stirring this back and forth, and we've been in there about like 5 minutes at this point. And then we're going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of minced garlic. And here's the thing with the minced garlic though. You get this in your pan, you don't want to cook this more than like a minute, because if you do, it's going to start to kind of like singe and burn, and it's going to get a god-awful taste to it that you really don't want. So we want to mix it into the peppers and the onions, get it all cooking together. And then after about a minute, we're going to push this to the side, because we're going to work with our ground beef. So go ahead and stir this around for the time that it needs to be in here. We just don't want it sitting up shop, because when you burn garlic, it has such a taste. It just, it will kill your meal. You don't want it. So just make sure everything is mixed in there. Keep stirring this around. At this point, your onions should be really cooked. Your peppers should be very good and usable. So you're ready for your next ingredients. So go ahead and push them to the side of the pan. Remember, we are on like maybe a medium-high heat at this point, and we are adding in our pound of ground beef. Now, if your ground beef came out like a big old lump, which it usually does, you need to break it up. And I have this wonderful thing that helps you break up meat, which is wonderful. If you ever need one of these, they cost like $1.25 at a dollar store, which I won't mention their name because they used to be $1, but now it's $1.25. Yeah, but anyway, So go ahead and break up your ground beef as you go with this thing. Just kind of get it down into smaller pieces, because as we actually are cooking, it's going to break up more anyway. But we just want to go ahead and get those larger pieces broken up. And we're going to start cooking this through here, because we're going to cook this ground beef until it's browned, but we are going to add seasoning along the way. So if you're using something to break up that ground beef, make sure you get it out of there and get everything cleaned off of it. And then we're gonna continue to cook this. Now, as I said, we're gonna cook the ground beef until it's browned. So go ahead and keep moving it around, and then we're gonna add some seasoning on top of this. So what we're adding is a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, a half a teaspoon of Cajun seasoning, a half a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon of pepper, and a half a teaspoon of onion powder. Now all of this is going over top of the vegetables, the beef, the whole thing. And then once it's in there, we're going to mix this around to where we get all its seasoning through everything that we have in our pan. And again, we're going to continue to cook. Now, one thing you want to make sure of is that you actually are mixing this, moving it around quite often, because we don't want anything sitting on the bottom and burning like the onions, peppers, or garlic. So we want to get this completely mixed through the ground beef. Now, as you're cooking this, and if you notice that, along the way it's going to have oil in it, we're going to remove like excess oil later on as we get to that point once it's really cooked down. Because as you can see, there is some in here once you've cooked this for a while. And depending on the type of ground beef that you use or how expensive it was, there's more oil than other. But I had a really wonderful person one time tell me that if you took some tongs and some paper towels and ran them through the side of your pan, you could get the oil out that way without a lot of mess. And thank you for the person who said this to me, because you're amazing and I appreciate the tip. Now we're going to pour over top of this, once we've already gotten the oil out, the onion soup mix. And you're going to notice that probably some of the onion in the onion soup mix is going to stick to the inside of your measuring cup or whatever you mixed it up in. So scoop that out of there, get it in, because we want all of this in here. And go ahead and stir it around and get that completely mixed through. And then after we get that in there like that, we're going to start adding other ingredients. We are adding 1 cup of beef broth to this, because that's going to help punch with the flavor. And then we're going to mix this up some more. So make sure that you stir this completely through, because we want to have the onion soup mix, the beef broth, and all this other stuff that's in our pan to actually mix through really well, because we want every part of this to get that flavor. And we're going to bring this to a boil, because we need this to be hot before we add in rice to it. And once you get to the boil part of this, you know that it's about time for the rice. And then you're going to add 1 cup of uncooked rice. And I'm using jasmine rice because this stuff fluffs up and has such the great flavor to it. And it never fails to be a fluffy, nice rice. It's not like something that's going to stay a little hard or it's not going to have great taste. This works the best. So, and you can find this in any grocery store. And go ahead and stir that rice in. And we're going to let this stay at a high temperature for a while here, because we want it to start cooking the rice, because it takes about 20 minutes to cook rice. And we want to make sure that for the cup of rice that we put in, you need 2 cups of water absorbed into that. Well, we had the moisture from the onion soup mix and we had the beef broth that's going into it. And then once it's cooked for the 20 minutes, we're going to add about a cup of cheese. I'm using mozzarella. You don't have to. You could use any kind of cheese that thrills you. This is adaptable, and that's the best thing about it. But once you get this cheese in here, we're going to mix it around until it starts to melt. And then once you're to that point, you are about ready to serve, because once the cheese is melted in, it's there. You just let it sit for a couple minutes to make sure everything is all mixed through, all melted through, and you are good to go. And then you're ready to serve this to your family, and you have such a great meal to serve. And this is what mine looked like. And I added a little cheese on top when I put it on the plate, and it had such an amazing taste, and I loved it. I hope you liked this video, and if you did, please like and subscribe. And if you get a chance, check out the Southern Mountain Kitchen website, where you can get a free recipe, check out the cookbooks available from the Southern Mountain Kitchen, and if you'd like to, you could order a cookbook at a discounted price, cheaper than Amazon, with shipping that is also cheaper than Amazon. So if you get a chance, check it out, and I hope you have a great day.